Hello and welcome to my unit review of the Blood Phantasm. This video will guide you through the general strengths of the unit, its general purpose in your formation, its abilities and stats. If you like this kind of content, drop this channel a subscription and you won't miss a thing in the future. So let's start with the Blood Phantasm. It's one of those units that I can surely sum up as a generalist, and that's one of its biggest strengths and weaknesses at the same time. We're going to start with a feature which is kind of like uncommon, because there's a benefit of the Blood Phantasm dying for your formation. The healing is pretty high, and it's such a good combination with the Lich, because combined with the abilities of the Lich, you can get a free heal for your whole squad, whereas the Lich has the ability to replace the unit immediately with a reanimate, or if you're able to cast the Conjure Shadows spell, you're also having the ability to fill up a slot again. This is extremely powerful because with the Lich's Sacrifice ability, this is basically a full heal for your squad, and even if you don't utilize the death by will, it's still pretty strong once this guy goes down. The stats in general are, well, reflecting averageness. Nothing is really bad on the Blood Phantasm, but at the same time nothing is really shining there. So we're going to go right away in the abilities. Slot 1 goes for Impale, double attack, shoving the Blood Phantasm one slot forward in your formation. Usable from every slot and, well, like I said, generalistic skills. You can upgrade that to higher crits or higher base damage, and it's just raw damage. There's nothing wrong with it, it's just very limited with its accessibility to your enemies. But apart from that, it's pretty strong, because 160% damage general, or 200%, or, well, larger crits. Pretty nasty. Next up comes the Phantasmal Assault, the real frontline skill. You're getting a double attack, 50% per blow, and recovering vigor in relation to the damage dealt. Pretty useful to sustain the unit. We can upgrade it to more damage per blow and less vigor gain. Well, it sums up because you're increasing the damage, so the returns go lower, or you keep the damage as is and just increase the vigor gain to whopping 75%. This is really good if you just aim on upgrading the pure attack stat of the Blood Phantasm, and this is pretty good if you're not intending to go for attack stat buffing from outer sources. Then this is most of the time strong, just a general rule of thumb. Next up comes the Transfusion. When receiving direct damage, restore vigor to all allies equal to your attack. Oh, I love this skill so much. Next up is an upgrade which buffs attack and dread on your allies, or you're giving this skill as something that you mark an ally with, and when that ally gets attacked, the Blood Phantasm redirects the attack on itself and triggers that healing. This is pretty useful because you can protect your allies with it and at the same time spread out some constant healing with that. These skills got changed with the recent patch, and I really like those changes. So you can now either decide to go for a less reliable source of heal, but a party-wide buff, Battle End, until battle ends, keep that in mind, or, well, more ability to target that skill. I really like that one. Next up comes the Mark of Retribution. We mark a minion, and everybody who attacks that minion receives a ton of magic damage. We can upgrade that to a longer mark or more damage on retaliation. And this is such a good skill for every AoE based enemy combo. I would strongly recommend that to use wherever your enemies spread a lot of damage over your formation, because this really screws your enemies up if they're just attacking everybody. Also usable from any slot. Another point of versatility here. Next up comes the Chains of Anger, your first real back row skill, only usable from slots 3 and 4, and having access to the whole enemy formation. You get more damage for each buff and debuff on the target. We can upgrade that to more conditional damage or more base damage. I like this skill because it really synergizes well with a lot of different formations. One favorite use of the skill for me is to use this on stress-based formations where you use a lot of stress and debuffs and you struggle with finishing off people. Chains of Anger can help you solving that problem because, well, it's working for buffs and debuffs on the target and finishing off people pretty good. And whereas the Blood Phantasm on its own doesn't provide any stress damage, it does support in a really, really good way without clogging up your formation without use. Last skill, Hate Internal. You're going to attack your whole enemy squad with shoving back the Blood Phantasm 2 squares in your formation, and everybody's burning until the battle's end for 40%. We can upgrade that for another debuff extension for another turn or for a less cost. 30 Wrath is damn cheap. The biggest downside about this skill is just the fact that the Blood Phantasm gets shoved back. And apart from that, well, it's such a wonderful skill. Making the mobility available, and you can upgrade it to a really, really low cost or combine that with debuff extensions, which also fits into the scheme of stress-based formations pretty well again. So we're going to look into the stats now. Attack can be is upgradable 8 times, which emphasizes it's the main, it's as the core stat, because pretty much everything scales off of attack here. Your marks scale off attack, even your heals scales off attack. So this skill is really, really important. I mean, even the feature scales off of attack, if I read that correctly. Next up comes Vigor. 7 slots is pretty big too, +5 each. Well, you see, this guy starts with 110 Vigor base stat, and that's already a lot. We can also upgrade armor and resistance, and this makes the Phantasm damn tanky. Accuracy is pretty average. Luck goes to a pretty high value as well, and evasion goes to a pretty high value as well. And this is the real specialty of the Blood Phantasm. This is, like, I consider it as the biggest strength. How many skill points, ability points you can put into that guy. Because honestly, not many units have such high caps. 10 slots max, 8 slots max, 7 slots max, 8 slots, 8 slots. You can put in so many ability points, and that's where this unit starts to become crazy. If you have large amounts of armor and magic resistance available, the transfusion skill gets stronger and stronger, and the overall synergy I felt was the more ability points the Blood Phantasm has available, the stronger it gets overall. And this is something which is happening harder. This unit scales harder than other units, so that's my personal verdict. The unit's item is the Crimson Chains. Each character attacking the Blood Phantasm receives ignition that deals 20 true damage for 3 turns. I don't like it too much, to be quite honest, because, well, it fits somewhat to the basic scheme of the unit, but overall there are units that have way better and more powerful items. But at the same time, it's really cool to put that together with the transfusion or such. I hope this helped you a little bit out how to use the Blood Phantasm. I would always say bring this guy when you don't know who to bring else. He's synergizing into pretty much every idea you could have on your mind, and especially my personal favorite was to use the Blood Phantasm wherever AoE became a real big problem. Whenever enemies started raining down too much damage on my whole formation, the transfusion is such a strong skill. So feel free to drop me some comments down below, share your ideas with me, what you think. If I have forgotten something, I'm absolutely eager to hear your thoughts. Apart from that, I hope you're going to check with the next episode as well, where I'm going to feature actually the dump here. So see you guys next time. Bye bye.